Hey there, this is Natalie, and in this video I want to talk about a mystery that was briefly brought up in episode 4 of Mushoku Tensei Season 2, which relates to Elinalise, who we got to see plenty more of in episode 5. That mystery is, why does Elinalise have a pendant that matches the one Rudeus wears? I will be giving the full answer to this, as well as a lot more information about Elinalise that will not be revealed until later in the anime, and so this video has a heavy spoiler warning, though I won't be spoiling anything that isn't necessary to talk about Elinalise's connections to other characters, and I'll try to make the explanations all make sense, even if you don't know any other spoilers from later in Mushoku Tensei. If you enjoy this kind of content going into the story, characters and lore of Mushoku Tensei, then please gently caress the subscribe button because I have plenty of videos on the series, including both spoiler and anime only content. And I also have similar content for other series, including ReZero and The Rising of the Shield Hero. I also do weekly post-episode live streams with Espiritu, which we alternate hosting between my channel and his. So look out for those on Sundays, and take a look at his channel too if you haven't already, as he also has plenty of interesting Mushoku Tensei content. And with that YouTuber stuff out of the way, let's talk about the meaning of Elinalise's pendant. So in Season 2 Episode 4, we see Elinalise teasing Rudeus a bit, and then looking at the pendant he wears around his neck, which was given to him by Sylphy. Elinalise asks where he got it, and he explains it was from a friend. She then asks if the friend was elvish, and he says yes, with Elinalise showing she has one of a similar design. Now it would seem reasonable that there may be traditional jewellery elves wear and make in their communities, and that this was the only connection. However, we know that Sylphy grew up in Buena Village, same as Rudeus, where her father Lors was a half-elf, but nobody else was really of elven origin. She didn't grow up among elves, so for her to have a kind of elven symbol, it would have to have come from her dad. Sylphy also doesn't know much about her ancestry, and has never really been able to understand why she has green hair, when she doesn't seem to be genetically related to anyone from a tribe like the Spurred. Well, Sylphy's pendant did indeed come from her father, but it's something far more specific than just being jewellery from an elven clan. It was given to him by his mother, who gives these pendants to all of her children, who, for reasons, she doesn't stay with after she knows they're growing up safely. His mother is Elinalise. Yes, Elinalise is Sylphy's grandma. This will come out after the wedding of Rudeus and Sylphy, which we'll see later in Season 2, when Sylphy surprises everyone by actually asking Elinalise if this is the case. In actual fact, they go on to have a very close relationship, and while it may not be typical of a grandmother and granddaughter, Elinalise is a kind of older woman in Sylphy's life who sometimes gives her advice and who she feels a familial bond with. But that's not the end of it. Elinalise married Cliff, a boy who was introduced in the Eris Goblin Slayer OVA and who we saw again in episode 5. This may seem like the weirdest match ever, because Cliff is very religious and the grandson of the Pope, and Elinalise's lifestyle has not exactly been compatible with the value of the Millis Church, and that's all due to her curse. However, Cliff becomes infatuated with Elinalise, and when she tells him about her curse, he vows to cure it for her. They actually end up being kind of the second main couple of Mushoku Tensei, and have a son named Clive. This time, Elinalise can actually raise her son without fear of her reputation having unwanted repercussions on her child's life. Clive, though, is born around the same time as Rudeus's first child, Lucy, whose mother is, of course, Sylphy. They're raised together, and it seems natural to everybody when, once they come of age, they decide to marry. So Lucy's mother-in-law, her husband's mother, is also her great-grandmother, her mother's grandmother. The family tree in this series is basically a tumbleweed. But what do we know about Elinalise having children in general? Elinalise was found trapped in crystal in a labyrinth by Rudeus around 200 years before the start of Mushoku Tensei. She had no memories, and given elves have very long lifespans, it would be hard to know how long her life had been before. She was taken to an elven village where she quickly married. Elinalise found her body did something strange. When she was inseminated by a man, she would give birth to valuable magic crystals, which her husband would go out and sell. However, one day he was killed while he was out doing this. A few days later, Elinalise's curse took over, and she found herself pouncing on any man who'd sleep with her, causing the women in the village to hate her and send her away. Essentially, she has a kind of curse where magic builds up in her body, and it can be released as these magic crystals only by regularly having sex with a man. If she goes without a man fertilizing her magic crystals for too long, the excess magic builds up, weakening and ultimately killing her. The origins of her curse are widely thought to be explained in the prequel story Old Dragon's Tale, and I do have a whole series of videos reading that story out, as well as a video about Elinalise's origins, which I'll link to on the end card, so I won't go into all of that here. But it's something that ties into Mushoku Tensei lore, and doesn't seem to just be a random curse that the author gave to Elinalise just because it was interesting for the character. It does seem to have a deeper long-term purpose, which may well come up in the planned sequel series. Now, while Elinalise does need regular doses of vitamin D, it doesn't have to be different men. But of course, during her subsequent life as an adventurer, it was easier to find casual relations or even male prostitutes than to maintain a relationship. Elinalise even worked as an escort herself for a while before joining Paul's party, because while she didn't need the money, it was the easiest way to keep the curse at bay without any interpersonal drama. But while most of the time the men Elinalise sleeps with are fertilizing her magic crystals, she can still get pregnant. Elves tend to get pregnant less easily than human women, which makes sense given their long lifespans. If one individual elf woman was fertile for hundreds of years and could get pregnant easily, the world would just be overrun with elves. But they do still get pregnant, and can certainly interbreed with humans, and possibly other races too. Elinalise has many children, grandchildren and great-grandchildren around the world at this point, and because of her lifestyle and reputation, and the problems she worries this will cause for her kids, she stops having contact with them once she knows they're set up somewhere and will have a better life without her. I guess she wants to avoid being the Mushoku Tensei equivalent of the mother who's on OnlyFans and their children's friends find out about it and bully them. Still, she gives her children a pendant similar to hers as a kind of memento, and she certainly did care for her children's well-being. She ends up being a good mother to Clive and a good grandmother to Sylphy, and clearly has just taken having to leave her children before at less stable times in her life as a part of her curse that she just had to live with, rather than her being irresponsible and not wanting to be there for her kids. She never gets to reunite with Sylphy's father Laws, as he died in the mass teleportation incident, but her emotional reaction to becoming part of Sylphy's life shows that she really does care about her children and descendants. I find when I'm looking at comments on things like the Mushoku Tensei wiki, or when I look at people talking about the novels or episodes, that a lot of people have an aversion to Elinalise and her curse as something in the story. But personally, I think she's a great character with a lot of depth, and her curse is done for more than just comedy or titillation. She's an easy character for people to judge, or to judge the author for writing, especially the Puritan types you find on Twitter. But her curse presents an interesting opportunity for characters to try to resolve and make the best of bad situations. And how we see Elinalise and Cliff deal with things together is very interesting to both of their characters, allowing for drama and difficulty even in a relationship where the couple love each other a lot and don't have a lot of other conflict. We see Elinalise say to Roxy in season 1 that she loves sex and would be doing what she's doing even without her curse, almost implying that it's a win for her because she's enjoying herself and also accumulating enormous wealth once we know how the curse works. But her regrets about her children and the fact she immediately is willing to commit to Cliff when he promises to try to cure her shows that this is Elinalise either putting on a brave face in front of the more innocent Roxy or trying to look on the bright side of a situation that is less ideal than she's making it out to be. She's not just a fun, shameless character to liven things up. She's a fully fleshed out person in this world, with her own ways of dealing with the hand she was dealt. She's also one of the oldest characters in the main cast, so she's someone whose experience and insights into personal relationships can actually benefit Rudeus and the other younger or more sheltered characters. But what do you guys think? Is Elinalise's condition tragic? Does she belong to the streets? Or is it something more nuanced that includes elements of both of those ideas? Let me know what you think about Elinalise in the comments. Thank you as always to my supporters on Patreon who are on screen right now, and to those of you who support me via donations on Ko-fi or super thanks on YouTube. Thank you too to everyone who helps me out in other ways, like by subscribing to my channel, talking to me in the comments, and just by watching my videos. Thank you for watching this one, and I hope to see you again very soon for more Mushoku Tensei discussion, lore, and analysis.